All right, we are here today again with another live version episode of the Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things podcast show. And I have with me today a guest that has been on the show before. She's actually been part of our Wednesday audio series, if you've listened to the show, where I highlight therapists, psychologists, neuroscientists talking about the science of growth. And she was our December 2019 Expert of the Month. So today I have with me Anna Jezuita. She is from the UK, and I'm excited to have you back, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, Kerry. I'm excited too. I didn't think I will actually see you. We talked, but we hadn't seen each other. So that's really nice. It's great.
Yes, I'm so excited you're here. And if you are watching live at any point in time, you have questions, please feel free to post them in the chat and we will have Anna answer them as well. I want to start off with Anna. I think a lot of people, when they think of therapy, unfortunately think about, oh, you should only go to therapy if you have a problem or if you have an issue. But really, therapy, psychology can help us at any point in time with a variety of things. Can you talk about why being mentally healthy and fit is important every day and on a daily basis for us?
Yes, this is actually my hot hobby horse recently because as a psychotherapist, I don't want to be seen as an emergency department where people only come, when they're really like in pain and you can't function. I'd like to see myself more like, like a fitness coach or someone who's there in the good times to make my clients better. And so looking after your mental health is actually, it should be a similar kind of endeavor like looking after your physical health. So basically everybody knows that your body needs sleep, your body needs good nutrition, your body needs exercise. So you don't just wait for your back to pop to do some core strength exercises. That's like everybody knows that and nobody questions this. So with mental health, it would be actually lovely if we could do the same. But I was kind of thinking about it. And when you ask about people's mental health, they will say something like, I'm fine. It's like, okay, and how do you know? I don't know, I'm just fine. And then you start asking, and it's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just like, I just can't say no to people. Or I'm fine, I'm really fine. And it's just, I'm this kind of person that can never stop running. I'm the kind of person that never relaxes. It's like, you're not fine. That's not fine, As if somebody said, oh, my knee doesn't bend, but that's fine. I'm just not going to worry about it. Or, I can't reach the floor to pick up things because my back is tight and my hamstring cuts. But don't worry about it. That's fine. This is just how I am. No, everybody will go, no, you need to do something about it. You need to fix it. You need to make it because the balanced way is that both knees should bend, the back should be flexible. So it's not just fine. Whereas with our mental health, we sort of make allowances for things that we call our idiosyncrasies. To a degree, maybe it's true, but actually there is something similar to what we look at our body, that, muscles are equally developed, that spine works and all that. The same you can think about your mental health. It also needs to be, so if it was a person, it also would need to have a good spine, which would be maybe your values, your morals. You don't have to have good skeleton, like, your base, your beliefs and everything, the tendons, the muscles, which would be your emotions, your thoughts. I just don't want to go into too much detail, but it's just as a metaphor. And nobody would think that it's okay to develop only one side of the body. It's like, no, that's fine. I'm like, this is just me. This is how I walk. Everybody was like, no. And I think that's what I would like to encourage, that we need to be in a little bit more contact with our mental health. We need to have some kind of intelligent and persistent attention like we have with our physical body. We need to not see it as a question of being something wrong with me. It's just something that needs to be exercised. It's something that I need to skill up, I need to skill up in saying no. That's all. It doesn't sound bad, but if you think about like, oh, I think I'm not assertive, that's really heavy. But if you think about it as a set of skills that we need to top up and we need to exercise and practice, then it becomes so much easier to, to be excited about even.
Yeah, I love this. And you had talked about this when we spoke a few months ago about your mental fitness, like your physical fitness. Like you said, you wouldn't develop one side, you would develop both sides. And I think, what you're saying when you say something like, I have a hard time saying no, that takes a toll on your mental and emotional health. And that's not something wrong with you, but it's also not something that's fine. It's usually something you need a little bit of help with. And so I love that you're bringing that concept to life, because that is so true. So when we're, let's kind of talk from more extreme to everyday, with the current situation going on in the world, with so many of us being at home, working from home, trying to handle some people teaching their kids and homeschooling and being with their spouse, some people being completely alone. What are some tools or things that we should be doing to make sure our mental health is in check as best we can in a very extreme situation like this?
Yeah, this is, if it wasn't sad and tragic, it would be super interesting. Because, it's a bit like, I used that metaphor somewhere else, that it's as if all of a sudden you open your computer and you try to find the file called future. It's gone. And you call your friends like, oh my God, I lost that file. And we go, oh God, we did too. So then it's not just me, it's not my fault, which makes me feel a little bit better, but still there is no future. Our habits of thinking and organizing our present towards the future, towards the goals, all of a sudden it's all wobbled because we don't know. We may speculate, but we're really, this exercise has never been done before. So this is a very interesting place where actually staying in the present moment is the best place to be. And that, as a mindfulness teacher, I'm like delighted that I can say that really there is the only place that you can be, and this is also the place where you can look for respite, because of course we will be anxious. This is the situation where anxiety is absolutely justified. There is this saying that when the situation is not normal behavior is abnormal. So in an abnormal situation, if the house is burning and somebody says, I'm just going to finish my cup of tea, that's not normal. It may look normal, but that's not advisable. So of course, in that situation, we act a little bit flappy, a little bit anxious, and a little bit out of kilter because we just don't know. We don't have enough data. So our anxiety is actually having a ball. Our anxiety is like, see, I told you. Now I really can develop my skills and tell you that you need me on the daily basis, which of course is not true. So we can tell your anxiety, thank you very much. And you can see you're very ready and all that, but actually to go back to the present moment, which is your respite time. Because when you look around, everything's fine. We are talking here. The weather is nice. We have food. Internet is working. We're breathing. So in that moment, everything is okay. And coming back to this moment can really root us again. We are so used maybe to looking for reassurance in external world, in our job, in plans that we've made and all that. But actually, like you said, why is it important to be mentally fit all the time? It's because then you are prepared for this kind of wobbles. You are the person who is flexible, who can get out of their comfort zone and do something out of the ordinary and do something like, oh, I've never done that before, but it's okay, I'm not falling apart. Whereas if we are kind of rigid and don't have any options, it feels much more kind of threatening and scary and terrifying. So for the time being, I think it's really good time to get to know your mental health, get to know your mind. For example, it's a beautiful time to try out new habits, because we like not working, not having to go to work, not commuting. Oh my God, it's kind of wobbles everything. But then we still want to fit in the old routine. Nope, I'm not traveling to work, but I'm still going to wake up at 6 a.m. and do as if I was, traveling. Why? Well, because I want to hold on to something that feels familiar. But why? If the new and unfamiliar can be much friendlier, maybe, much more suitable to this situation. And again, this is something that, it's maybe not something that we're practiced because we seek comfort in repetition and in routine. And somebody said to me, like, oh, I really need to find a new routine quickly. And it's so funny because routine per se is something that develops over time. You can't develop it quickly because it's not called a routine. It's just called a random behavior. So, and I think that's from that perspective, if we can, of course we can, like I wobble because like one of my children is on the other side of the world in New Zealand and I'm here. So I go from like this different strata of emotional stuff. So here I am, like, settling and grounding and breathing, and all of a sudden go, and what if he kind of doesn't listen to the lockdown and does something stupid? And, I'm here. But then I accept that it's inevitable. Of course, this is part of how we respond to the very uncertain situation. So there's no point beating my anxiety up for showing up. Or just go, okay, thanks, and let's just sit and do something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you always say, when we spoke a couple months ago, I love the metaphors and the way you talk about stuff, where you're saying it's not about not pretending we don't have anxiety in moments, acknowledging it's there, but saying, okay, I see you, I hear you, kind of pushing it aside. I'm going to focus on what's happening here right now in this moment. And like you said, for those of us that are not sick or in healthcare, many of us are just at home. We have food, we have internet, we're healthy, and to focus on that moment can change our perspective a lot.
Yeah. And it's also nice, like one little practice that you can do to get some sense of humor about it. So kind of to think of your anxiety as an animal. What animal would that be? So like, is it a meerkat? Very, very vigilant. Or is it a horse? Like, a horse is seemingly cool and galloping, and then there is a leaf on the road. It's like, gone. Or is it more like a donkey? So, it can be a donkey from Shrek. Are we there yet? Or it can be Eeyore, like from Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore, nobody loves me, but that's fine. I don't care. That's also anxiety, but sort of subdued anxiety. Or is it maybe a tiger, a very sort of anger-based, very sort of aggressive anxiety, which is dressed up as anger. Like, and when somebody needs to do something about it, that's not fair. Well, why don't they? Why don't he? So just observe and go, oh, I got you. That's what you're doing.
I like that. Anna, I missed this visual acting when we spoke last time with audio only. So if we're talking to someone who is, let's say they're having a moment, again, especially now it's heightened for a lot of people, and they're having a moment of anxiety, they're watching the news, they're hearing things, or maybe they're working in healthcare. What tips would you give them to kind of, again, acknowledge it, but bring themselves back to the present moment and feel a better sense of calm?
Okay, so first of all, understanding that this is okay. So this, not the language is quite important. So see how it makes a difference to say I'm anxious or I'm feeling anxiety in my body. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different impact. So I feel anxiety. That's okay. I'm just going to acknowledge it and maybe breathe through it. But, knowing that it's going to pass makes it less panicky and makes it less neurotic, because you can just know that, okay, that, no feeling is final. And then going back to your body is essential. Your body can trick your anxiety very quickly, because anxiety is a fight or flight response. So, it's running, and your nervous system is trying to save you from danger. Now, when you focus on your out breath, so when you extend your out breath, your body tricks your brain to switch into rest and digest. So the extended out breath signals that we're cool. And if you do, so cognitively, you're thinking, I'm still anxious, but you still consciously extending your breath. And after a few times, your mind goes, what's going on? Oh, all right then. Rest and digest. So you're kind of tricking your brain, outsmarting your brain by bypassing here, which tells you like, no, I understand, and it's so terrible, and could be me, and all that. It goes through your body and start changing the chemistry of the body, the way that the brain works, and it calms you down for a bit. It's, it may not, depending on how high the anxiety is, it may work after 3 breaths, 5 breaths. But whatever it is, it gives you a little moment, the gap, to divert from that spin. And then maybe it's a good idea to go for a walk, to start, doing something. I was joking that ideally we should all have a tightrope at home, because when you stand on the tightrope, your mind is immediately focused just on not falling down. Everything else just falls off the cliff. All the anxieties, sort of non kind of specific anxieties, fall off, and your brain focus, and that gives that moment to divert and to do something different.
I like that. Yeah. I just to recap, because I think it's such great tips and very laid out, talking about your feeling anxiety versus you are anxious, and distinguishing the difference, because as you said, the feelings are fleeting. And then you're talking about really breathing and the exhalation, and then finally some sort of kind of distraction to change the mind. What is it about the physiological thing that happens when we really slow down our breathing and get in tune with us that helps our mind stay healthier and feel calmer?
To be honest, I don't know exactly about the chemistry on the higher kind of biochemistry level, but basically the response changes. The response to protect you, the fight or flight response is about preparing your body to defend itself or to run. So the blood runs quicker, the pupils become bigger, because we are sort of ready. And imagine that we are in that state all the time, because anxiety is like a dysregulated fight or flight response. So like a gazelle has this fight or flight adrenaline rush, then escapes from the tiger, and then she shakes it off. We don't shake it off that much. We can stay in this aroused state forever. So the slowing down gives us the possibility, to switch from that to rest and digest, and also to release some of the adrenaline, because otherwise we will explode. To release that pumped up chemicals that were ready to save you from the tiger, and actually it was just like you whistle blowing in your kettle.
I love it. So we were talking earlier about routines, and you had said, a lot of people right now, they're either saying, I'm going to keep getting up at the same time, I'm going to stick to that routine because it feels comfortable. And then you have some that are saying, I'm going to create a new routine, but routines are repetitive. So what do you suggest people do when it comes to routines or creating some sort of normalcy within, I mean, not even just today in the world, but any point in time when there's a lot of chaos or craziness going on in their life?
I think that the most useful thing at the moment is to accept the flexibility, to accept that every day can be different. And that in itself brings some space to try new things. So I think, like we talked about in the podcast in the winter, one day I may feel very energized and feel like I'm going to do this super strenuous Ashtanga routine, and then I'll have 3 cups of coffee and have a run because it's beautiful and it's sunny, and and I had fantastic sex last night. So I'm like, everything is going with, but there might be days when I'm really tired, or I had bad news, or we also have to accept that's maybe with the current situation, that we are in this place of sort of global trauma going in the back of our minds. There is one level when everything is normal, but on the other level, there is this program running in the back that we worry. And I've heard from so many clients that they feel tired. They feel tired even though they are not doing much, because there is this situation, the unknown, not knowing when it's all going to end, how it's all going to end. So that in itself saps energy away. So the habits and the new routines really need to take into account that space for resting, for really taking care and hugging ourselves. We can't hug each other down, but we can hug ourselves and say, like, what do I need to feel better? Maybe, like, good food for the body. It's the same with good food for the mind. Like, what sort of things are you watching? What sort of things are you ingesting in terms of news? And of course, the reality will not escape, but maybe indulging and wallowing and, pumping the reality to excess is not necessarily a good thing. So there is, like, watch Friends, for God's sake, and have chocolate cake if you can. And also, what sort of person you are to yourself in this self-isolation situation. Are you the best friend? Are you stuck with your best friend, or are you stuck with some kind of monster, the critical, scathing, authoritarian monster that constantly tells you, I should do this, I shouldn't be like this? At the moment, actually, that's the good thing, that there is no should. Nobody knows. We can do whatever we like because there is no script. Who says you need to do this? Like, no, that's not what I do in this situation, I've discovered.
Yeah, I first of all, you have the most calming voice. But I always feel like when I talk to you or I talk to other therapists or psychologists in the space, I think what is so nice for myself to hear and for others who haven't heard it is that there's no one way to do anything. And that in times of craziness like now, like you said, like, we don't have to be so hard on ourselves. Some days you might feel energized and other days you might feel tired, and that's okay. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think a lot of us need to hear that. Because on the other side, from a work standpoint, again, work from home, this is not normal work from home, obviously, but there are certainly companies or employees that feel that they need to be doing extra work. They need to really showcase they're doing things because they were in an office before. And then that's stressing them out. Do you have any thoughts or advice for employers or employees on how to kind of deal with this, how to get work done, how to be productive, how to showcase your value in work, but still allow your mental health to be okay?
Okay. Well, this is really interesting because I think this situation may change things forever. Yeah. Because I feel the same, because part of my job is working for someone, and I'm working from home, and I have this constant thing like, am I doing enough? Am I delivering? And am I not cheating? And I think this is the product of the society, when there is some kind of sense of mistrust. We are told you need the structure, you need the office, you need to be seen, otherwise you will do nothing because you're lazy and you're good for nothing. And if there's no whip, you just kind of disintegrate into a blob. And now the situation changes. People work from home, and oh my God, they work more, and nobody, things don't fall apart. Things actually, from clients that I work with who work from home, they say, no, I probably do more or differently. And I have a similar experience. So this is a perfect opportunity for us, all of us, to realize that actually maybe we are intrinsically okay. And, if I'm left to my own devices, I will deliver. I maybe will not deliver in the Hussein Bolt style, first on the finishing line, because I'll have a coffee on the way and, stop and stare through the window for a bit. But I'll deliver because I'm a big girl. I have a history and, case studies of 50 years of delivering. So why wouldn't I suddenly not deliver the job that I like, the job that I know, the job that I know what needs to be done? So I think that's something that is very useful for us to start telling yourself. That why wouldn't I? Okay, well, maybe today I'll do less and tomorrow I'll do double again because there are different days. But I am not the kind of person who would just skive off or take a piss or however. Most of us, anyway. And the ones who are that way, they do it at home or at work anyway. So
Yes. I have worked for myself and at home for the last year and a half. I love it. And I actually find I'm more productive because I don't have the distractions. Again, this is not normal work from home for people watching or listening to this in April 2020. But usually people are more productive, and you're right, whether they're in the office or not, you're going to know if they're doing the work and allowing ourselves to not feel so stressed about it.
Yes, and I think this is a really good practice now to develop this kind of trust in ourselves, and a good friend saying, of course you do it, sweetheart. No, okay, well, you don't feel like it now, maybe, then take a rest, do something else. But I trust that you're going to do it because you always have. What's the big deal?
I love it. Again, I just love the way you talk. I think we all love that voice of yours in our head. So let's, our whole conversation today was not just about the current situation and stressful times, but really about how we keep our mental health well in all sorts of areas of our life. So when we're thinking about things we should do on a daily basis, even when the world is good and things are going well, what are some things that we should be doing to keep our mental health in check, kind of the maintenance piece, just like you would in fitness?
Okay, well, I've got it written down, so I'm going to use it now.
Yay.
So the first thing, funny enough, the first thing that we need to do to keep our mental health in a good tick is to look after our body. Sleep well, eat well, look after body. This sort of happy spirit in a happy body. And there is this saying, happiness is an absence of a headache. Have you heard that?
I have not. I like it though.
Yeah. So think like when you have a toothache or a headache or something like really sort of overwhelming, there is nothing else that matters. There is no kind of levels of happiness that can somehow distract you from that. And then there is this point where headache is gone and there is this bliss. That's how important the physical wellness is for our mental wellness, because you can't think of higher realms of spirituality or human development if your body is aching and asking for your attention. So that's definitely the first and foremost thing to do. That healthy diet, that's something that I said before. What do we feed our mental body? What sort of programs we watch, information? We have a choice. It doesn't mean not looking after the current situation doesn't mean that you are an ignorant. You will understand what needs to be understood, but also actively look at things that are good for us, visually, perceptively, intellectually, things that makes us feel a bit more kind of whole and calm and peaceful. And it's the same how we talk to ourselves, the self-talk. Do you talk to yourself like you are your best friend? Or do you talk to yourself like you are the headmister, or the policeman with a whip? That's so important. And it's something that, we need to just catch ourselves and develop. The third thing with mental health, don't believe everything you think and feel, because the mind produces all sorts of stuff and all sorts of, rubbish, to be honest, just to keep us entertained. So if your mind is like a deranged movie director producing the films that Anna would like to see. So the film that my director knows that no matter the time of the day or night, that will always keep me awake is your children are in danger. Immediately. My attention is immediately there. But is it true? No, they haven't charged their phone, for God's sake. So this sort of things, it's like, detaching ourselves from our own mental discourse and looking at it and go, whoa, that's interesting. That's a lot of rubbish I didn't understand. I didn't even know I'm capable of producing all that. So that's the third thing. Number 4, put time aside to do pointless things. Like, with no reason. I watched the TED Talk recently about this woman who makes pointless inventions. The inventions, like she's an inventor, and she does these things that are completely useless, and they are failures. But it gives her so much freedom because she's not hooked on success. She's not hooked on impressing people. She's just hooked on doing something like spectacular catastrophe. So I think with that spirit, it's really nice to have a sense of humor about what we do and about our lives and whatnot. And then number 5, in general, engage with your mind. Keep the relationship going. Like, we constantly check our bodies in the mirror, right? How many times? It's so funny, I just noticed, like, women buying shoes. You try, she goes, tries the shoes on, and watch it. And I do the same.
Yes.
So we have this constant feedback about our bodies, but we don't have a habit of doing the same with our mind. So we need to develop some kind of habit of, checking in. What do I want today? And you need to kind of develop the ability to pause. So whether meditation or breathing, so to kind of step out of the loop. Another thing that you can do, like catch yourself and undo the habits. Remember we talked about, like, when you put the trousers on, which leg goes first, left or right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
I do. And I did do that. And you have to use your brain a completely different way. So it's good training.
Yes, you may be stuck all morning because you're trying to do it the other way. But it's just like switching yourself out of the drama. And challenge yourself sometimes, challenge your mind. Like we challenge, do a half marathon or do a charity run, or, this beautiful podcast that you did with the lady who was kayaking from the sources of Amazon to the, how about kayaking your Amazon of, the lack of confidence, or Amazon of anger, from tracking it from the sources, where does it come from, to the end, and you can do it yourself, or you can do it with someone, but just really being curious and seeing your mental health, your mental condition as something that is equally interesting and malleable, and it's an equally interesting project as your physical body.
All wonderful tips. And I think for those of you watching or rewatching or listening to this, go back, write it down, and actually try them. And one of my favorites is where you said kind of just to do things just to do them with no outcome. It's one of my favorite things to do. You know, I'm a dancer, so I do love to just dance around the house just because it feels good. So it's, yeah, I think that's why I think art is so important, you know, playing music, drawing. I like that you said that she was an inventor, that again, I think hearing you giving permission to say that not only should we do that, but it will just help our mental health as a whole is really important for us to hear. Because especially I would say in the US, we're very much about achievements. And this we don't need to always be achieving. It can just be for us to do things to feel good.
Yeah, I think we're deceived that we need to achieve much more than we actually absolutely have to. So it's nice to just play with it.
Yes, I agree. Well, as usual, this was absolutely wonderful, Anna. Where can people connect with you, learn from you? If they want to work with you, you are based in the UK. Where can they do that?
So my website is jesuitatherapy.co.uk. So my surname therapy.co.uk. So there is loads of stuff on there. I recently started a YouTube channel, so there are some silly videos about mindfulness, which you can check. So the channel is Anna Jezuita Mindfulness. Again, these are like failure projects. You know, I did them not because I wanted to achieve some excellence in video production, but I just wanted to have fun and share it with people. Yes, and please feel free to contact me via the website or Facebook page, Anna Jezuita Mindfulness as well. And if you want to any advice or just feedback about that chat, it would be great.
Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing your wisdom, your kindness, your lovely calming voice. And I hope all of you listening or watching definitely reach out to her if you have questions. She is a wealth of information. So thank you, Anna, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for seeing me and doing it.